Whether you're new to LARP, or you've been a seasoned veteran for a long time and you're switching games, or just trying something new within a LARP that you've been a part of for a long time, one question comes up again and again and again. How do I create a character? We're going to show you several different ways to do that here on Caddock's Castle. Welcome back. So, you've decided to go on ahead and try this whole live action roleplay thing, or maybe you're switching to a new game that's maybe not so much of a boffer LARP as it is a parlor LARP, or maybe you're a seasoned veteran looking to shake things up. Well, that's great. There's a bunch of different ways to go on ahead and do the basic thing, which would be to create a character. Now, a character is a central piece to any form of live-action roleplay. So you've got to have somebody to play if you're going to roleplay. So how does one go about doing that? Is there like a set of rules? Is there a standardization, a way to make it happen? Well, no, there isn't. And it's up to you as the player to decide how you want to create this character. Some people might work outside in. They get a costume or they get a prop and they decide this is something really important and key to my character and build from there. Others like to work inside out, making a bunch of dramatic choices about that character and then building their outside from that. Both are perfectly fine. Now, there's going to be a couple I'm going to talk to you about here right now that focus on that inside-out method, if you will, or that taking something from within you and bringing it outside, rather than choosing a prop or a piece of aesthetics or something that is valuable to you and building a character inward from the outside. That's a little bit more personal and not necessarily the way that I like to work. So these are some of the ways that I've crafted my characters in the past. So let's look at the first way to kind of do this. It's pretty standard and pretty common thing is to write a character backstory. People will write a long, lengthy backstory about their character before ever stepping out on field. And that's absolutely perfectly fine and great. It's an absolutely wonderful thing. You gotta do it. Go do this. It's absolutely wonderful. Even if your character's been around for years, maybe a good idea to write down all the adventures and backstories that you've had for a long time. One thing to keep in mind is that when you are doing this, keep it simple, right? Don't try to, as somebody who's brand new to a LARP, try to be like, oh, I was this great king, and I am this great swordsman, and I can wield epic magic, and I can do all these epic things. Well, because you gotta back it up with a real world thing. You've gotta play that role. And if you're just learning a game, learning a system of magic or learning a system of fighting or learning a way that people interact, mainly like a social structure within an actual fantasy world, you may not want to go on ahead and put yourself up on that high pedestal of great warrior, great wizard, high social status. Doesn't really give you a place to go, and you kind of look like a goof in some ways, right? If you go on ahead and start low, you give yourself somewhere to get to. So think about maybe you were a farmer and you've always wanted to be a great swordsman. That gives you a place to go. You were somebody who learned to read and write in your family and you've always wanted to learn more, so maybe you study the scholarly arts kind of thing and become a wizard or a bard or a healer of some sorts, or maybe you just always have had an interest in the outside and the outdoors, and finally, something happened and you find yourself on the road all the time. Hey, look, you're a scout or a traveler or a merchant or something like that, right? Give yourself a place to go. Give yourself room to actually have that ability to go from there. Now, people might look at you and say, oh, I can't really do anything with that. You can do tons with that. What are your family relations? Where did you come from? Where were you born? What do you like? What do you dislike? Do you have a particular type of weapon that you always carry on you? A type of spell? What's precious to you? What's not? What do you like in the world? What do you not like in people? What do you like in people? Like all these different things, right? And bear all of those things in mind to help you create your character and better understand who you are actually playing. One other thing I will say about this, and this is one of those moments when I like to kind of pull from my theater education, is this wonderful understanding that the text itself is dead. You can go ahead and create a great backstory, but like I said, you gotta back it up. The text is dead. When you start playing this character, you really have to start embodying them and being who they are. That's really, really important. One thing to think about this, and this is the quick and easy way to think about character creation, is called BBE, or what is called body, breath, and energy. Body, how does your character position themselves, and how do they actually articulate their bodies and move? Do they have some sort of limp? Do they pop their hips? Do they bring their head forward, bring their head back? Do their shoulders sit wonky? Do they always have their hands in a pocket? Are they always having their arms crossed kind of thing? Are they always jumpy and ready to go? Those are the kinds of things we want to think about when we're creating a character. How does that character physically live in the physical world? Breath. Now this might seem like it's just talking about how we breathe, but it's more than that. It's language, it's diction, it's how you communicate. It's different ways that you interact with yourself. For example, maybe you don't do what are called contractions within words, so can't, won't, don't, those kinds of things. It might be will not, do not, cannot, instead of saying won't, can't, don't. Like, you're very proper in that way. That's a particular style of talking and breath that you can make as a character choice that also doesn't gray the lines of mayhaps trying to do an accent that might push the boundaries on being offensive or insensitive to other cultures. So think about ways that you can do that. Maybe you're always rolling your R's, you know, like you can do something like that, like something that constantly plays with the tongue and the diction, your articulators, things of that nature. Maybe you over-articulate everything. That might be something you do as your character, and that's perfectly fine, and that's a breath pattern that you actually have. And the last is energy. This one's a little bit more metaphysical, but think of the speed of your character. The speed of your character, the way your character interacts with themselves and the world, and how they actually begin to let their breath and their body interact with the world itself. It's a little harder to explain, but once you get that feeling of whether your character is fast or slow, whether they're reserved or whether they're extroverted, whether they're, you know, what makes them them, and how can you put that into a kind of like a feeling in your chest, that feeling, that heat in your chest, what does that feel like? And that's the energy that we're trying to talk about. That's one other way to create your character, and I like that idea because that one actually helps you embody the character and physically be something in the world. So the one last thing I want to talk to you about, rather than talking about a text-based idea or a body, breath, and energy, is kind of a merging of the two. This is my own design, this is my own idea that I've actually created, and it's called PRAL. And for those of you who are astute enough, you will know that that is just Larp backwards. And that's literally it. And it's the same kind of letters. PRAL stands for play, role, action, and live, right? So if we think about this and we break it down into each individual parts, play. Who do you play? Now try to keep this information as simple as possible because you're going to have to recall all of this probably in a dead run away from like a raging barbarian that's coming down on top of you with a giant battle axe. So you don't want to have like this really long thing like, who do I play? I play Lord Caddock and he is such a blah 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 blah. You're running, okay? You're moving. It's a physical action that you might need to go on ahead and have this and then be in character in that moment. Okay, you want to make it super simple. So play. Who do you play? Typically, this is name and race. Done. Role. What is their role within this world? Typically, that is a class, if you're playing a class boffer game, and a profession. Something they do. Think about something you would want to do in your downtime, and that is literally the other side of role beside the class that you might choose. Action. This is the most important part of PRAL, period. This is the verb that embodies your character. This is the thing that you can come right back to, boom, instantaneously, and that is what your character can do. Notice I said can do, because it's a verb. We're not talking about emotion that's hard to play, right? I can be happy, or I can be happy, or I can be happy. There's different ways to play happy, but to fish, to thrash, to cajole, to punch, to envelop, to wrap, to assimilate. Those are all verbs, and they have an action. They have a particular way that you are trying to do something. And I can fish a compliment out of you just like I can fish information, just like I could also fish your weapon off of your body. You know what I mean? There's different ways to fish. And all of those things obviously tell us of a particular way that we are acting in the world. And that's why it's an action, right? And the last one is live, right? How do we bring this character to life? How do we vivify this character? This is where you can really kind of break it down into something simple for you, something that your character says over and over and again, some kind of like little catchphrase they have. The way they walk, do they have a limp because of an old battle injury? Do they have, some sort of quirk about them that they don't like? I don't know. They don't like yellow leaves or something like that, something small that brings them to life that you can instantaneously bring. So for example, if I'm going to go on ahead and take Caddock and I break him down into PRAL, okay? If we think about play, who do I play? Lord Caddock, the human. That's it. It's that simple. What is his role? He is a bardic priest. That's it. What does he do? He plays songs as a bard, but he also has this kind of religious element to him as well. Action. What is his action? His idea is to redeem, to bring people together, to go ahead and say, every one of you that's out on like the edges, the outskirts, let's all come together as one, which really plays into his bardic side, because he can be like, hey, let's sing songs, let's have fun. And he can also kind of tie it together with this whole religion of loving everyone as they are, no matter who they are. And that brings him all together. And finally, live, or live, if you will. How does he live this? Easy way for me to do that is to go ahead and use one of his exclamations. If things are going bad, he'll say, Phoenix Fire, because he serves the Phoenix. So it's Phoenix Fire, and that is literally something you'll hear him say. If it's something else, you'll notice that he is a little bouncy, so I put a little bounce in my step as a bard for him, and that allows me to go ahead and get inside of his body very quickly. PRAL is an amazing way for you to craft a character super fast, both intellectually and physically. It's a great way for you to take something inside of your head and put it into your body rather quickly, and feel free to make your characters. The beautiful thing about each of these three different ways, they don't just work for Amtgard. They work for any LARP anywhere. I mean anywhere. Whether you're doing Cthulhu Live, or you're doing Nero or Alliance, or you are doing Dystopia Rising, or you are doing Amtgard, Belagarth, Daggerhair, Darkhan, you're doing all those kinds of wonderful, beautiful LARPs. You can go ahead and do little homebrews, nano LARPs. You can do all sorts of stuff to create these beautiful characters with this information. Just a quick recap, you can go on ahead and craft something on a piece of paper, writing out your character's backstory, fleshing them out on paper. You can use body, breath, and energy. How do they physically act in the world? How do they breathe? How do they talk? And what is their metaphysical energy like? And then finally, there is PRAL. Who are you playing? What role do they have in this world? What is their action or their verb? And how do you bring them to life? So I hope this information is good for you to help you create a character that you can enjoy and you can like, and you can kind of like get your kind of like, claws into, and then have some fun with. And feel free, like, if you guys want to combine any of these, do whatever you want, because these Beyond Wonderful Things are your characters. And if you're still having trouble, reach out to somebody in your local LARP that you know knows how to roleplay, knows how to have a character and make them work really, really well, because that is going to be an absolutely astounding resource for you. Thank you guys so much, and as always, do gooder.